What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Fleischer's Superman. That's right, 1940s animated style. One of my first exposures to Superman, so one I'm looking forward to. Let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at Superman. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, of course, we are McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse, Superman. There he is there. You've got the extra set of giant hands. You've got a card. You've got that base in the back. Flip it to the side. DC Multiverse, Superman QR code at the bottom. Flip it to the back. There's your nice image. I love that. That looks really good. 64 pages of action, all in full color. You get it. 1940, that's what we're going with here. Max Fleischer, animated series that I really loved as a kid. There you go. Superman, classic animation, 1940 on that side. But let's get him out of the box. Fresh out of the box, as I've already alluded to, this is a Superman that I was very much looking forward to. One that I was not sure that we would ever come across, and for fairly decent reason. I don't know that people these days are that excited to get this Fleischer Superman going all the way back. I mean, if you're a fan of Superman, you are for sure, but I guess the average collector probably gonna look at this and skip over it, right? But for me, very excited to have this. Now, overall, I mean, I think it meets the aesthetic. Probably I would like it a little bit shorter, slightly stockier. I think that would really meet the mark, but overall, for the representation, I think it kind of hits where I would like it to be. Of course, you do get your card, which matches the back of the box art there, and you get your obligatory stand for your McFarlane figure. Moving in closer, we can get a better look at the head sculpt and the design here. So, you know, what always captured me about this one, especially growing up, because obviously not growing up in the 40s, I wasn't seeing this Superman for the first time, but I was kind of backtracking a little bit, right? The S always stood out because it's so different from what I was accustomed to from like the Christopher Reeve Superman or the more traditional, quote unquote, traditional Superman that you might think of. So I always liked how that stood out, a bit different, kind of cool, you know, reminiscent of that era. So I like that they've captured that there. You've got pretty much a simple design. Of course, you are on this body, you've got the pins there sticking out, but they match. It's not really ever been a big deal for me. Same with the knees there. It is a McFarlane figure. You know what you're getting when you're getting these. For me, it's more about the representation of what I am getting here. You do have a cloth cape for those of you who are into that, wired as well, so nice touch. Probably what you'll notice right away, the one head sculpt, because it only came with one that you get, does have these sort of closed eyes, but when you're looking at the animated series, that really does capture the essence. I do wish they would have thrown in an alternate head just to give you some expression with a little bit more open eye, but no harm, no foul on that. I do think it really captures the likeness of the animated series. For your hands, you do get your set of fists, and then you get your ever-present giant slapping hands. Look, these are always way too big for Superman. I just wish they would stop including them. If we're only going to get two sets of hands, give me the flared hands and the fists. That's what Superman needs, not these giant spread out pimp smack hands. I don't know what that's about. For your articulation, the head will look down to about there, back to about there, so you're not getting a lot of backward motion. We are aware of that. You do get some good movement around, some wiggle in there, so you can definitely get that in different positions. You have that sort of modified butterfly in there, always loose, always giving you that gap in between the shoulder. Moves around nice and easy because of that, but just something to point out. Of course, it does give you some good range, but again, you are subject to that gapping in the shoulder area there. Upper bicep cut, double jointed at the elbow. Nice big section there. Nothing at your forearm, and then your ball at the wrist. One thing is, you know, the line doesn't have much longer to go. It would have been nice at some point to see that stuff phased out, but we know that that will not happen at this point. Upper torso there, lower movement in the diaper range at the bottom of the diaphragm. Leg kicks up to there, a little bit of a gap at the back, back to there, and you get that gap up front. Nothing at the thigh. Another thing I would have liked to have seen improved over time. Double jointed at the knee. You get a little bit of movement at the boot there. Ball at the ankle, which gives you all that pivot movement and range around. And then, of course, your toe hinge. As for the diaper, it doesn't look too bad on here. You've got the wrinkling in the front, a little bit in the back. It doesn't look too saggy or egregious at all. Wired cape, as I pointed out before, so you get to move that around, manipulate that how you like. It is a nice touch. You know, I've always said that for most of my figures, I'm not too particular on the soft goods because the overall aesthetic of my collection is mostly plastic capes, right? That's just kind of how I'm used to it for the display. But they have come a good way with these. You know, they're not overly big. They don't look out of place at all. So it was a nice development for the line. For some comparisons, here he is backed up against our most recent Action Comics Superman. So you could see, gives you a good contrast on the color, right? Like you want the Fleischer costume to be on the darker side. This one could probably be even a little bit darker, but I do like the blue that they went with. You can see the contrast between the reds too. A little bit deeper red on the Fleischer versus the Action Comics. Cape though, the cape does lean into the brighter red because I assume that they just have one sheet of cloth that they use for Superman capes and go about it that way. Minor nitpick, I don't think you really notice it up front, but it is something to point out. And here he is backed up against our McFarlane New 52 Superman. Just to give you another point of reference as far as the blue tints go for these Superman figures, the New 52 does have a slightly darker one, so I just wanted to pull that out for comparison. And finally, here he is backed up against the Christopher Reeve Superman. For me, these are the two Superman figures that got all of this started. Prior to getting into the comics, the movie and this Fleischer cartoon, these were Superman in my world. So it's very cool in a sort of retrospective way to finally have the two of these, you know, in a same line on the shelf next to each other, kind of bringing that world together, that nostalgia, all of it building up just from these two figures. So, you know, McFarlane Toys has its flaws, but they have been very consistent with pumping out these Superman figures. I may complain about them from time to time because they're not perfect, but at the end of the day, the representation is what I'm looking for, and it's moments like these in collecting that really just ties it all together and gives you that sort of warm and fuzzy feeling, right? So I'm super appreciative that we do have these, minor nitpicks aside. So I'm really looking forward to getting this Fleischer Superman on the shelf next to Chris here. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. There is your Max Fleischer Superman from the 40s animated series. A new McFarlane release, one that I'm proud and happy to have in my display for sure. You know, he comes from an era where he's faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that's what it's all about, folks. I'm so glad that I'm able to add this one to the display. It's a figure that I've been waiting for some time, and now he's finally coming home into the collection. There were some nitpicks, of course. These figures aren't perfect. They never are. You know, I like that I got the figure. As I said at the beginning of the video, maybe he's a little bit shorter to show off a little bit more stockiness, but all in all, I'd prefer this body than, say, they use that stockier Superman buck, right? So if I had to pick and choose between the two, I definitely want it to be on this build here. And for me, it just boils down to that fondness, that nostalgia bit, right? When I was a little kid, I had a beat up old VHS tape recorded off of TV, probably somewhere along the way, of some of these episodes from this series, and I would watch that all the time, right? I said previously, between this and the Christopher Reeve Superman, those are what got me into Superman from the beginning. When I was a little kid, That's the exposure I had as I got older. I got into the comics and moved on from there. But these two, they are what is the nostalgia base. So, as I've said ad nauseum at this point, I am happy to get this one into the display. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. That's the 2 cents. I appreciate you listening to me ramble. I hope you got something out of this. If you're looking for the figure, I just found this the other day at GameStop, so it looks like they're starting to trickle out. And I do wish you luck on your endeavor there. Folks, like I said, 2 cents. Do what you want with that information. I appreciate you checking out the video, staying this long if you have. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. And until next time, take it easy.